Good evening, everybody. We are here from G100 Oneness and Wisdom to share some wisdom, actually, on how it is that we can truly become one. We thought we would like to bring our amazing panelists together. We're going to share some interesting statistics and experiences of how they are disrupting status quo in the areas of gender biases. We all know that this really exists, but instead of just talking about that it exists, we thought we'll come together to actually address what can be done now to change this. So allow me to welcome our panelists. We have Shireen Edris, who is our Global Advisory Council member. Shireen, and she is from Egypt. So welcome, Shireen. How are you doing today?
My pleasure. I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be with the amazing panelists, as all of you are here, and very much looking forward to a very rich conversation and a genuine one on how we can
Yes,
tackle this topic in a realistic manner. Thank you.
super. We have Nicole Farrell, our country chair from Trinidad Tobago, and she is here also to share her experience and how it is that she actually does things differently.
Hello,
Welcome,
everyone.
Nicole.
Thank you, Jennifer. Hello, everyone, to all of my other panelists, and of course, everyone who is tuned in. This is
Mm,
a very popular topic, but of course, as we go along in life and in these 2020s, we can definitely see how we can make some major changes. So I'm really
mm,
looking forward to this session today.
okay. We have Mohammed Al Tajer, our Global Advisory Council member for G100 Oneness of Wisdom. Hi, Mohammed. How are you doing today?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello, everyone, and Ramadan Kareem to you, and very privileged to be in this panel with my colleagues, Shireen, James, Nicole, and of course, the one and only Jennifer.
And our one and only global denim partner for G100 Oneness and Wisdom, James, welcome to the call.
Thanks for having me, Jennifer. Looking forward to a wonderful discussion and hopefully some action steps that all the listeners
Yes,
can take and
yes,
apply in their own
absolutely.
situation.
Absolutely. We had Vidusha, unfortunately, he will not be able to join us because he's stuck with something else. Rebecca is trying to get online, so we will wait for her to show up. In the meantime, let us carry on with our conversation. On All of us have heard about gender biases. We keep seeing it. We have conversations about it. But I'm more interested from a perspective of bringing everyone together. How is it that we can actually change something about this gender bias things that plagues the whole world into actually bringing some action steps? So, Shireen, I'd like to for you to actually share with us some sort of information that we were having before we actually came live. You were sharing some interesting information with me. Would you like to share it with all of us now?
Thank you, Jennifer. This topic, while we were preparing and trying to see how to tackle the points, and nowadays in 2024, gender bias still exists and what's going on. So we needed to have a more of a helicopter view about the world we live in. So looking at the world population and demographics, you would see that the split between male and female percentage, male represent 50.4% of the global population, and females represent 49.6 of the global population. While if you take a closer look at the population by age, you would find so many countries are actually uh, youth focused. So,
Mm,
Africa, for instance, as a whole continent, is the youngest of all the continents globally, where you find a country like Nigeria with a median age below 15 years old. Other countries with a very young population, like Egypt, 60% of the population are in a median age of 24 years old. Same as well in India, the median age is 28 years old. The same goes for Bangladesh, Brazil, the United States, Indonesia. So when we take a closer look, the youth represent most of the global population. And the future, maybe the near future, actually belongs to them. So my views would be the starting point would be definitely for the youth. And when you speak with the youth, you'd find that they have more tolerance and more acceptance to diversity in general and inclusivity, not just from the gender standing point. And we need to give more voices to youth, create
Mm-hmm.
more awareness with youth, and see what the youth are and how the youth want to shape their future. So this is how I see the starting point would be meaningful.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? Please feel free to hop in.
I think there are two things that we always have to consider when it comes to gender bias, and this is on the side of both men and women. There are two things that I think are major factors. One, of course, is culture, and with culture, it can be societal, it can be racial culture, religious culture, right? So that's one. And two, what I call your circle conditioning. And what I mean by circle conditioning is all of the circles that you're in, from your family to your friends, your co-workers, your wider community in your neighborhood, and all of those different circles. These are people who influence your conditioning when it comes to how you think about something, how you view something. And a lot of times it's starting from when we were very young, or when we were at an impressionable age, maybe like as a teenager, right? So we have to start off there and realize that it's a very deep dig that we may have to do to undo what was taught and what was shared directly and indirectly. But I think one of the ways that we can tap into it and try to start the change is definitely communication. For me, as Shireen was saying, we have to start with not that we have to start with the youths, but the youths are definitely at an age where we can start to, for lack of a better word, condition them, because they're the ones with the more open minds. And from what I've seen, and even from like informal research that I've done, what I've seen is people who were conditioned, and I'm talking about millennials and those in the Gen X generation, they were conditioned a certain way, but they want to change. They don't necessarily subscribe to what the baby boomers and those before them were thinking, right? So they're also open to those changes. So it's the youths and that Gen Z and millennial generations that you have to tap into as well. Even the Gen X generation.
Okay, cool. That's interesting. Mohammed,
Can I say something? Let's go back a little bit, and I see Shireen smiling. By defining what is gender bias, I believe that this topic or this title gets hijacked, unfortunately, and we all go in one direction. Gender bias. Gender, we have two genders, men and women, and the bias could be from either side. Of course, yes, I agree that it is more from the men towards the women, but it does not mean that it does not happen for men as well. And I've seen examples of, few examples of where women basically uses their power when they are in power over, men in certain situations, certain companies. Not a lot, but it is there. So let's address the elephant in the room. One. Second thing is as Nicole said, and I actually would like to ask this question to my fellow colleagues here. Maybe not relevant. Jennifer, what is your mother tongue?
English. I speak English at home.
What about Shireen? Your mother tongue?
It's Arabic. Arabic.
And Nicole, your mother tongue?
English.
English. And James, your mother tongue?
English.
English. We never say father's tongue. It's always mother's tongue, which goes back and ties nicely with what Nicole has mentioned. It starts from the home. You know, who raises the man and women? It's the mother. You know, and probably she still, you know, raises them until they grow older and much older. You know, the thing is that this, as Nicole said, starts at home with the mother. We have seen many examples where, you know, you have a sister and a brother, and when you take them on board to take them in the car, for instance, it's almost always the mother will say, you know, the brother has to go in the front with his father. Yeah. I have a girl. I mean, I have a daughter and a son. The daughter is older than the son, but I never do that. It's basically whoever is, you know, has demonstrated that he is worthy of getting inside, getting ahead, will take the opportunity. So maybe something a little bit different than what you hear every day, but I think we have to have an open mind, and whenever we discuss this topic.
Wonderful.
Rebecca.
Wonderful. We just have Rebecca coming online, which is good. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi,
and Rebecca is representing an interesting demographic. She's in the States. However, she's from Colombia and works very closely with people in Mexico. So we have quite a diverse set of people over here.
Wow.
We have Muhammad, who has worked in UAE, in Germany, in where else? Bahrain.
UK.
Where else?
UK, Bahrain, Kuwait,
UK,
Saudi.
Okay, Kuwait. So all of these places.
Let's
and then
stop
we
here,
have
otherwise.
James. No, but James has also. James, please share your views on the first question that we had. What do you reckon?
For me, the biggest thing you have to do is gender bias or discrimination is you have to change their heart. I mean, I can put policies in place in an organization to say we're going to not have this, but it's what matters in their heart. And the only way I know to do that is through real experience. And so if you take the case in Fine, I joined the company. They'd never had a woman on the management board. My first hour in the company, I fired a bunch of men at management board level who were not doing well. And I told the headhunters, I want women replacements. And within a couple of months, we went from 0 to 40% female representation at senior management. Now, what happened after that is the women did well. And like 6 months after we did it, I had a guy come to me and he said, look, I got to tell you something. I was skeptical and I didn't believe that a woman should be in that job, but I have to admit she's a superstar. And you were right in what you've done. And I'm changing my point of view on the whole question of gender. Now, it's one person and there was many more that never came to me, but you got to convert people one by one. And it's not just through policy. You have to take bold steps to make them see how great women are in the workplace and in an operation. And then they convince that you can run all these seminars all you want. You don't change their heart. You change their heart through real life experience. And so I think what leaders have to do is force it. Like what I consistently do. I just force it. And we just promote the women. I put them in place and there's grumbling, but you suppress it. And then people learn, you know what? She's pretty good. That's what you have to do.
So interesting. Rebecca, what do you think about gender biases and what do you reckon needs to change?
Well, it is huge, right? And that's why we are all here. First, I want to apologize. I was having some issues with my connection. And second,
we need to could you speak a little louder because we can't. And Nicole, you too.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. It's just that my connection is not so well, but I'm going to try to do my best. Okay. So, well, first, thank you everyone for having the patience to deal with my connection. And second, I want to say something to Mohammed before I answer my question. My mother and my father tongue is Spanish, so but but they speak different, okay? Because whatever they were raised, and that is something that takes us to the answer. I think that we were taught to do something and we don't even know what we are doing it. And one day we were raising kids one way, like the men are the ones that are going to be doing some things, and women has no voice, and now it's changing. But that change is taking us to a position that we are just getting, so we are not doing it equally. So I think that the biggest problem is that we don't understand what it is, that we just follow whichever leader we believe, but we don't take responsibility. So we need to start from us and to be honest with us and say, okay, I am like really leading to be a feminist, or I want to be in a world that is equal, because just to go and talk and do roads and, and raise flags is not going to help. So we really need to start from us, and from there we can do much. We can teach, we can be an example, we can teach the kids, we can teach our community, and so on and on and on.
So on
So
and
I
so
think,
forth. Okay. So I think the consensus of what it is that I've gathered from everyone over here in this short while has been, we've got the stats. We know everyone is doing whatever they can, but we've got to start off. And I think the best place to start, as Shireen mentioned, would be the youngsters, because they are the future, and they can be groomed and trained and coached in a way that does not make them separate, the girls separate, the boys separate, but actually bringing them together to actually be seen as coming together to actually do something which is going to be far greater.
yeah,
Nicole has the same thing as to whether you have been in a situation and you see. The question is, how aware are we being, whether we are 50, 60, 70, or even 20? Are we aware of what's going on? Or are we blindly following whatever it is and saying, oh, this is the right way of doing it, so it was done before, so let's do it again? We're here to break the paradigms. And I love what Muhammad says. He is a paradigm buster. Join the club, Muhammad. It's really cool to actually have someone who thinks that way.
yeah.
So now we've got a lot of amazing comments that have come in. So I'd like to actually share this. We've got Pauline Crawford, who is also our global chair for Authentic Harmony and positive masculinity. She says, good morning, great topic. Demographics, generalization, and cultural impact are important and familiar circles of influence for sure. The point about language biases is that we have unconscious biases in how we talk about things. And so open, non-judgmental conversations with the heart can change stuff. So thank you for sharing that, Pauline. Always good to hear from you. We have someone else. We've got Tanya, who is our U.S. country chair. She says, Shireen, thank you for sharing those stats. So that's looking good. So let's get back to our amazing topic. Pauline has said one more thing. She says, Mother Earth and Father Time. That's an interesting concept. What do you reckon, guys? Any comments on that till I get us to the next question? What do you have to say about that? Mother Earth and Father Time.
I think she has to explain it a little bit further, but I take it's basically a joint effort by basically the parents to raise their kids to, this is, I had a similar discussion in a similar panel a couple of weeks back. It always starts with respect. If basically the parents hold respect for each other, the kids will have respect for each other as well. And I understand what James has done, and sometimes you have to do that. You have to force these policies in. But I'm sure, James, when you chose the women to be on the board of your team, you chose them based on merit as well. You have to always bring the right people on board. So doing the right things. Leaders do always the right things.
No, absolutely, you're right. I mean, if you have to, when you put someone in the spotlight like that, you got to make sure they're ready to succeed. I mean, if you just put someone there as window dressing, you actually hurt the entire effort.
Absolutely.
Because if people grab on that, see, I told you it wasn't going to work. I made sure that they knew they were pioneers, that they were going to be the first women ever, and that they were world class. And then it worked.
I think that is one of the most important things, and a very, very interesting point, Mohammed. Why is it that, and I keep saying, talent does not have any gender agenda?
Yes.
And that is something that we really have to actually pay attention to. And yes, there are situations where many organizations may not feel, and that's why I have James here, who has, James, could you give us a bit about what's the percentage of female versus male within the organization?
Well, it's not, I'm going to focus on the management. The reason is more than half my company are in factories. And despite all my efforts, it's hard to get above 20% in these factory environments because, if I take Saudi Arabia, so many women will say, I can't come to work. My husband used to drive me. There's so many barriers. If I take my senior management, we're at like 40%. Certain functions like marketing is over 70% female. So we have our place of strength. The UAE is obviously very much 50-50 in parts of the management. But if you go to a more traditional market like Egypt, it's lower. Jordan is lower. It varies. I mean, we're trying to change the society at the same time, and but that takes time, and and it takes time to overcome and to have policies. I mean, in the early days in Saudi, when you couldn't even have commingling of male and female employees, we had the first ever production line. It was all women line. That was the way we brought women into the factory. Instead of we had to work within the laws. So we had entire production lines that were 100% female so that we could stay legal, but get women into all roles in the company, including engineering and technical roles. So
that's very, you see, so that's what I'm saying. So it's not one size fits all. It has to be seen from different ways. How is it that we are going to be able to bring it to wing it? It's not about one size fits all. We've got to disrupt this way of thinking that, we have to have this. No, it's about we're running businesses, as James says, and we are doing different things. Yeah, Rebecca,
I like how James came up with and the company came up with a creative solution that actually enables women to have such jobs. Maybe women want to, but maybe the timings are not right. Maybe the working conditions are not right. So as leaders in our companies, we need to think and rethink, what are we providing? Are we providing transportation for women? Are we ensuring that they're secure when they're coming to work? Are we ensuring that maybe their shifts are within working hours that will help them to balance work between their families and personal lives and work? It's I think every leader should stop and think, what are they doing, not just in terms of policies, but working conditions that will enable, because often, more than often, we talk about women empowerment and like it's very we need to be feminist, but what women really need is a chance, working conditions that are suitable, more understanding and opportunities that they can fit within the many roles and hats they wear along their lives. She's a mother, she's a wife, she's a boss, she would probably do some community work. So we wear different hats in our lives, and I want to be able to do them all successful, but we need a support system that helps us do that.
True.
Yeah, can I
Good.
say
I
something?
Rebecca, yes.
Yeah,
piggyback on
it is fun to hear that, because I always
To talk louder. We can't hear you
I
louder. A little louder.
I always hear all these comments, and what is the men? So the men, they don't wear different hats. They work. They are fathers. They do community service. The same thing. So why we have to ask for something different? We have to work by side. We have to work like in the same conditions, because it is how Jennifer said about talent. We don't have to go and request, because we are women, something different. No, if you are not capable to do the job, just go and find another one, because you can just go and request some special treatment, because if not, that is when we are talking about these topics about bias. Like, are we asking for equality? We have to show that we are equal. And that's what we have to teach our kids. So the youngsters can go in the future with a different voice. But the question here is not who needs to be taught. So who is going to be teaching those kids? Because we are the mothers, and we are the mothers that have been in the system for years. And how you're going to change the mothers and the fathers' mind to teach the youngsters right now to be different? That's where we have to go.
May I comment on that, Rebecca? Because
Yeah, of
I like
course.
where you're going, that yes, eventually, how I'd like to see it in the future, that our opportunities are all equal. But the reality in the world is quite different. The reality in Egypt is different than the reality in Saudi Arabia, different than the reality in Bangladesh. So, for instance, in some countries, it is not safe for a woman to work on a night shift. Would she rather put herself in an unsecure situation where she could be raped, killed, or not even find transportation at night?
Yeah.
So in such circumstances, as leaders, we need to examine the kind of environment and ecosystem where they're working and find real solutions
Solutions.
that
For sure.
help
That's
them
true.
Good.
No,
actually,
I,
where
I
there is a
agree with
starting
you.
point.
I
So that's
agree with you. But let me tell you, of course, we are in different situations, but I've been working with victims of sexual assault for years. And 1 in 4 women are sexually assaulted, and 1 in 6 men are. We have all these movements to protect the woman, but have you heard anything about who's protecting the man?
and
No.
see
So
this
it's
this
a
is
it's an
the
interesting
challenge,
thing.
isn't
I'd like to take it to another level now, which brings us to why is it that we need to have the separation? And Shireen, I like your point
True.
about different
Yeah.
cultures, different countries have different ways of approaching it. So one side we have let's be different and let's be open to what it is that we can do within our cultures, within our countries. And also the other side is alongside that, can we also integrate into our homes with our mothers, with our fathers, how it is that we are bringing up the future generations. And if we have the third thing that is, you can actually say that, but the third thing is, are we really being able to shift how the women and men who are fathers and mothers actually think, which is the next question I'd like to ask. So, uh, what can we do, ladies and gents of the panel, to actually shift how the men and women are actually thinking? Because any change, and what Muhammad says, and what I generally believe in too, if there's to be any change, it has to start at home.
Yeah.
Okay, and
definitely
who spends most time with the kids is the mother. Okay, so if the mothers are, and this is, I'm going to say it, may sound controversial, if the mothers are playing victim, then you're going to actually raise up kids who are also being victimized. So we don't want any of that. So how can we change what is happening in the home front right now as parents? What can we do as different? James and Muhammad, I'd like you to go first with this because then we'll come in as ladies.
I've always argued on the subject of diversity in general. If you don't welcome it into your home, then you're never going to get there. I mean, there are many people that live a 9-to-5 diversity life, and they'll say, I'm happy to work with the African-American guy, but I don't want him in my neighborhood, or I don't want him, coming home. And I used to give a talk where I showed quite provocative pictures. There was one of a black boy kissing a white girl. And I said, now this is your daughter. Now you can say all you want, I have friends at work, but how do you feel about this? This is now your daughter. And then, there's always somebody in the audience say, well, what would you do? And I always say, well, I took the picture. That is my little girl with her Nigerian boyfriend kissing on Christmas Day. So, it's hard to figure out because people run their households the way they want to run their households. But what I see is huge amounts of hypocrisy, which is people they talk the talk of, they stand up on stage and give speeches about diversity, but then they go right back to their lily white neighborhood and they tell their kids, look, you're not allowed to date this person or that person. Don't bring them over to our house. It's hard. All you can do is point out the hypocrisy, but I can't change how a father or mother chooses to raise their kids. But, I've got hypocrisy in my own family. I mean, I see people that, and I've told people when my daughter was dating that kid, I had 4 or 5 people in the company I was working at the time come to my office and they would say, what do you think about Morgan's boyfriend? I'd say, oh, he's a nice kid. And they're like, yeah, but what do you really think? And then it hit me that they're just a bunch of racists. And then one even said to me, if that was my daughter, I'd tell her he's not allowed to come in a foot in the house. Why? Just because of his skin color? So this is, this is the reality out there, and it's very difficult. All you can do is point things out to people and do the best you can, but we can't regulate how people raise their children.
Okay, I think this conversation has to have a couple of series to it, because right now we are just talking at the periphery, but I think we've got a whole lot to dig deep, and I'd like to carry this on. Muhammad, what do you think about?
Look, I think if we go back in 2 words which people use interchangeably, which is equality and equity. And I like to use the word equity because if I see myself, with my daughter and son at home, I don't want her to, carry the grocery from the car to the, that's his job. When it comes to, there are certain things that, and let's not, interchange the sexes, to take each other role. And this is, I think, the key thing. I don't want my daughter to work, dredging roads in the middle of 50 degrees sun. That's not what she is designed to do. That's for my son to do and for men to do. However, having said that, if there is a job that does not discriminate with the physical attribute of a woman versus a man, no, I'll take, they have to compete based on merit. And because of the fact that women are not being let into especially management role or leadership, no, I'll give the preference for women if I have the 2 equal candidates. Let me give you an example. When I went in one of my jobs, I was leading a large team, and I inherited the team when I entered this organization. 60% of the team were women of my team. And the first thing, even in the interviews, I was asked, what are you going to do with this all women team? I said, what do you mean? Are they not performing? He said, yeah, but it's like the same question that was James was getting in a different way. 4 years later, when I left, guess how many women were in my team? 75%.
Wow.
From 60 to 75%.
Okay.
Because we took the department or the team to the next level. Everybody was praising it.
And which, if I may ask, drill a little deeper, which country were you in at that time?
Kuwait. You would definitely know which company I'm talking about.
No, because it's interesting to see, so we have the stereotyping that is going on, and I think it's necessary for us to disrupt. So we've just now heard that if you want to really change anything, it has to start from home. We've also heard that if you want to change anything, that's to start from home. You can't actually change how people operate in their home, as James shared. Um,
Okay,
but there is this fine line about the way that we can shift is to change the perceptions of how we are approaching the so-called gender biases or equity or equality, and then the word empowerment. Okay, very essentially, it is about bringing facts, and this is what we're actually doing over here. Nicole, what do you have to say about something of this sort?
About?
About what we just discussed. We've spoken about changing. How can we change stuff at home?
Yeah. I think one of the things is it goes back to the conditioning because these parents were
Mm,
taught certain things directly and indirectly. For example, you have some women who were conditioned directly or indirectly to ensure that they cook 3 meals a day, that they see after the home, that they, are the most ultimate form of submission, right? And without telling their daughters or telling their sons, they planted that seed that this is how it should be, right? So I think trying to undo their thinking sometimes it's really like sometimes it may feel like a lesson in futility.
mm,
But I think we for ourselves we have to start that dynamic in changing the whole cycle, right? It comes with boundaries because one of the cultural things that happens, remember earlier on I spoke about different aspects of culture influencing this. You also have where parents would literally threaten their children, sometimes with death even, right? Because they want to go against the teachings or the beliefs or whatever the case may be. So I think sometimes it's us standing up and saying, I will face the consequences. If it is you stop talking to me, or if it is, you don't like me as much,
mm,
it has to be with you because ultimately it's your life. And like for me, my parents separated when I was 9 years old. And I always say I have seen two versions of my mother.
mm,
One vision was her being the dutiful wife. She was a career woman, but she was a
mm,
dutiful wife. She would get up, she would do all of the household
mm,
chores, she would cook up a storm, do everything that a
mm,
wife is supposed to
mm,
do, right? And then when they separated, I saw her as that ultimately independent woman who,
mm,
was taking care of her family and doing all of that. So I had those two references to draw from. So it's
mm.
not like I have anything against, being a sort of a homemaker, but at the end of the day, I also want to be,
Yeah, so it's more about prioritizing your personal time
that's right.
into how it is that you would like to utilize it so that you feel individually fulfilled,
Yeah,
right?
because
Okay.
as James was saying, you can't change other people. You can try to influence them, but you can't change them. So it starts with you, and hopefully you will cause that domino effect in time.
Correct. Cool. Thanks, Nicole. Rebecca.
Well, what I think is that we need to be an example, and especially if we are in organizations or in movements or clubs or whatever, that we represent a community
Mm,
because we have the responsibility to bring the message. So this is great because we are sharing all kind of views
mm,
from different
mm,
cultures, and whatever works in my culture it doesn't work in yours or whatever because of the situation or the current situation, but it's culture, and that is something that we need to learn in order to go and teach because if not
mm,
we are not
mm,
going to be able to teach. So, for example, in my case, I represent different organizations, and my husband is my PR, and he's happy. He doesn't feel that he is
Threatened.
yeah, that he is not, yeah, he's not my competence. He is not doing something less than what I'm doing. We are working together. So that is something that we need to show the world that we can do it together. That is not like that who can do more and this is a competition or something like that. But we are responsible for doing that. And when we show the world that is possible, others are going to start doing it as well. So that's a way to do it, to change those mothers or those point of view of people at home. Because as you say,
Okay,
James,
cool.
we cannot just go inside the homes, and change them.
All right. So the next thing that brings me to being extremely curious about is, um, so we've talked about how we can change things on the home front. Okay. Uh, can we change it on the home front? What is required to change it? I think we've done that. But now we go into this thing about, let's talk individually. Okay. When we talked about, the workforce, and we as leaders have to be the driving force, not to go into this biases, or oh, I have to have women, then I'll be seen as a good organization. Okay, no, it's not that. It's about, can we address how empowered and how uh, well experienced the ladies are to be able to contribute. Okay, so if we were to take the approach of talent has no gender agenda, that would be a great place to actually work within the work environment and to bring that forward. But now let's talk about when we have said we can't go into the homes and change people. It has to be done individually. So I'd like your views, each one of you, to show up, and everyone who is also listening to us and writing the amazing comments here. Thank you so much. I would like to know from you also, what do you think about being able to change us individually to come into the space of working together to create far greater? Because that's what it is that I would like to drive home by doing this and actually carrying on doing these seminars, because I see that change is possible. And I have my personal point of view, but I'd like you all to share, and then I will give my two minutes piece as well. What can we do individually to change this narrative?
Ladies first.
Come on, Shireen, go for it.
Okay. I would like to start and add to what my colleague panelists here, they've shared amazing thoughts about how it starts at home, and how clearly women empowerment is not about switching roles. No, we celebrate us being women, and men are men, and it's not about switching the roles. And there is a nice quote that I always like to use: no shame in my game. So a woman is not also supposed to face pressure if she chooses not to be a working woman, if she chooses to be a staying home
Absolutely.
mother. All right. So that's one of also a trending pressure I have been witnessing with some youth. And you find at work some women who want to extend their maternity leave because she would rather give more time to her baby. So again, no pressure. A woman empowerment is to let her be who she wants to be, right? So this is exactly the narrative that I would like to state. I was raised by a staying home mother, all right? And
Okay.
she is still, up until today, my utmost inspiration. And she is my advisory board. So many times I go back to her with problems at work, with my career journey. And you would be surprised. She's the one who pushed me to have my master degree. She's the one who pushes me to switch roles. And she tells me, oh, come on, you're not a tree. You have to move. You have to have different experiences. You have to explore the world. And that's a staying home mother. All right.
Mm,
So the narrative should come
exactly.
in this way. women empowerment is about letting her who she wants to be, have opportunities if she wants to have, to be economically empowered and have her own money and pursue her dreams, be it a staying home mom, being it a working woman, being it an entrepreneur, an artist. Just be who she wants to be and celebrate being feminine and a woman. We're not trying to switch women to be men. So that's my
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
very,
Thank
very
you
good.
so much for that. I think that makes so much sense. So much sense. And that's what we have to actually look at. I think
Mhm.
more than anything else, we are trying to fight to take the side or become like a man. We're not here to do that. You're
No.
very correct. Where that's because we have our own ways of operating, and the guys have their own way of operating. So why are we trying to be like the guys when we can be ourselves? Brilliant point, Shireen.
Jennifer,
Thank you for that.
let me just
Anyone
jump on
else?
that point,
Yeah,
Jennifer, because I've seen it.
louder, louder.
Oh, just 1 second. Are you hearing me better now?
Yes, better.
Okay. Right. I just wanted to jump on that point because I've seen it when I was in the corporate world. I actually had one particular manager who felt she had to be, aggressive. She had to have that quote unquote male energy of, being emotionless and, just fierce and aggressive and abrasive. And
Mm,
I used to be like, why does she think she has to do that? And I'll share a
mm,
quick story. Um, the organization at which I was working, it was considered to be sort of the boys' club. It was about the men, what they wanted, how they wanted it, when they wanted it. And what I
mm,
used to see is a lot of managers and other
mm,
employees adopting this aggressive way of being. And I was there thinking, well, why can't I just be in my feminine essence and get what I want as well? So when I studied how everybody was moving and they weren't getting the results that they wanted from the men, I said, okay, I'm going to switch this up. And I
mm,
used my feminine essence. And I'm not talking about flirting or anything like that. I'm talking about I studied you, I
mm,
realized what works with you, and I approached you that way. I was respectful to you and everything. And I always got what I wanted. So it's not about, oh, it's us against them. And, we have to be this way, otherwise they'll take advantage. No, you can be, I always say you can be very authoritative without being abrasive. There's a difference. And you can be respected without having to be like that. You just have to tap into it. And I think it really goes with studying people. Everybody is different. And as you were saying,
exactly.
I think earlier, Jennifer, you can't broad wash everything. You can't broad swipe everything. Everybody is different. And especially if you're in a leadership role, you have to understand it. It's different personalities, different backgrounds, different cultures, different races. So you have to find a way to, as I say, bob and weave among it all.
Mm. And just to add to that, I've been in the Middle East now for a good 51 years. So you can guess what my age is. And I have never, ever had any issue with being made to look less than. Or have I ever been in a position where I have to force myself to be seen or heard? It was always about just being me authentically and showing up.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's not about you don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to be abrasive. Very correct. Rebecca, what do you have to say about it? And how does it work in the Colombian region and the Mexican region? I'd like to have a bit of
And the
that.
U.S. region and all the regions. I've been
Loud, loud.
as I was a
Yes.
judicial interpreter, so I've been working with the 32 countries that speak Spanish at this point. So I know that we all speak the same language, but we are all different cultures.
Different.
So we can sit here forever to talk about each one, but I'm just gonna add a little bit of everything because I've
Mm,
been in all the sides.
mhm,
I was sexually assaulted as well,
mm,
and that was in Colombia and all that, and when I was young as well.
mm,
But I didn't victimize myself for that. I didn't use that in my advantage. So that is something that we have to learn to deal with, because we are not just the only ones. Okay, it was something that happened. It was not good, but it's nothing that I can do about it now. It is in my past. So I'm not going to use that to open doors. I'm not going to use that to change
Exactly. Yeah.
anybody's minds, because
Yeah.
that is not something. I was working
That's
at
not
the,
who you are.
yes,
Exactly.
yes, that's not my essence. So I don't want everybody to look at me with
For
a
you,
sign here saying that,
victim.
oh, that is the the victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was 24, I was working at the Congress in Colombia. And of course, I was young. I was a single mother. So I went through all those things that the older guys wanted to take advantage of me. And they didn't took me serious because they thought that I was young. For them, I was pretty. So I was supposed to be doing different role than being working at the Congress. But the thing is that it wasn't me to know that I'm not that. So I didn't have to feel bad, because that's their problem if they think that. I don't have to be ashamed of me. And if someone is trying to do something or take advantage of me, I just go to other way. So I don't have to just go home and be crying and be depressive because they say
Or
because you're cute,
using, or
using
perhaps
that.
you,
Yeah.
using that to show up as a victim to open up the doors. I
Yes,
think that is something that we've got to get. We are not victims,
we are
both male
not.
or female. Okay, what has happened in the past, let it remain in the past. The
Yeah.
question here is, what are we going to do about it now? What are we going to do about us standing up in our own power, in our own potency, moving forward?
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Mohammed and James, what is it that we can do to instill a change individually for ourselves to be able to see the world as being united, males and females coming together and getting rid of these biases that are so prevalent? What can we do individually?
Go ahead, Mohammed, my friend.
I was gonna say, you are on my right, so you have to say to start.
But it's so
But anyways,
difficult.
when I was in Germany, they have this saying, which is, if you point one finger at me, three is back to
Three up
you.
point.
So if you want to change the society, one has to change themselves first. And unfortunately, we cannot wake up next day and the whole world is becoming, unbiased. Unfortunately, that's not the case. So it will be like it will take a time to change that. I hope it's short, not long, but it's the snowballing effect. If I speak up and James speak up, and we raise the awareness and we do these things at home, like we are doing, and others will take inspiration, and then it will not become a taboo or something that you are really embarrassed or ashamed of. The one of the biggest things that men, unfortunately, in many societies, is that the fear of basically being named or ashamed, or they have to follow the culture. They have to follow the society, even if it is wrong and even if they know it's wrong. It just needs, a bunch of, brave people, brave men to stand up saying, what, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to. Of course, you'll be attacked. You'll be, trashed. But this is, you have to stand for something. And that's what separates men from, males. Let me put it this way.
Get it. Okay, cool. James.
I agree. I think we have to start by being role models. We have to walk the talk of what we're saying. And the other thing is you have to be prepared to really roll the dice and try things and push boundaries. A couple of years ago when I was in the Philippines, I had a male sale. I'm going to give you an example. This is very provocative and it can upset certain people. I had a male working for me in sales. He was average. He was average. And he comes to me one day and he says, I need to talk to you. And I said, okay. And he comes in and he says, I think that I'm actually a woman and I want to make the transition. And I said to him, it's your life. I mean, it is your life. We support you. You want to do that? Go ahead. And the next day he started the hormone injections, and I had to build a separate transgender bathroom in our building because other people were complaining. And what was interesting is as he became a woman, he became my best sales rep in the country. When someone becomes happy, they become good. And I learned a ton on this. And I've told this story many times in the region because it shakes people up. I said, look, as a male average sales rep, as a female, my superstar, because she was happy. And you know, this gets back to let people, if you focus on having happy employees, you're going to have an amazing business. Instead of getting hung up on stuff. And I was proud of my organization. Everybody protected her, and it was the only transgender case in British American tobacco worldwide. And you know, London was calling me and checking. And I had one customer sent me a letter and said, I don't want this weirdo calling on me ever again. And the whole company looked at me, and I wrote the customer back and I said, we love your business. I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to make a change. I stand behind my employee. If you don't want to buy our products, I respect that. I respect your decision, but I'm not going to change out my employee simply because you demand it. And you know, we have to get experience with this. Instead of saying and making judgments, you have to be involved in it. And you know, to this day, she and I are very close. And I learned a lot about it. Instead of painting these people with labels and saying, oh, they're this and they're that, get an experience with it and push the envelope and see. And I learned a lot from that. Happy people are great employees. So focus on helping people be happy.
Brilliant. I'm mindful of the time. We have 4 minutes, but Shireen, I'd like to come back to you for you to share with everybody what amazing work has been done by yourself and your team of individual ladies to empower women to actually get into the workforce, and how is it that you actually do it? Ladies who are less fortunate and have not got the corporate culture, how are you making them actually stand out to become, you know, economically empowered? So please do share a little with that.
Thank you, Jennifer. And as you mentioned, there is a starting point somewhere where all of us in our businesses, we have a chance to make a change. There's a starting point somewhere. So throughout my career, I had the chance to work in financial institutions. And by looking at some statistics and demographics, I was able to first put it into the heart of the strategy and have the buy-in of the board. Why is it important first to have our brand personality revolving around women, and why women are important consumers, and then how to translate that into our community, how our brand is serving women in underserved areas. So we've launched several we've created products, we've tackled that through innovative products and financial solutions, microfinancing for women to start on their businesses. And we have also initiated work with for instance, one of the projects was to create jobs for women in underserved areas, to start to be, because these women were mostly single mothers and the breadwinners for their children, and they were stuck with challenges in life, and they didn't know how to provide for their children or where to start. So what they needed was a support system. So we created for them a project. And this project was where we funded some machinery. We rented a nice place, and then we brought some experts and artists and taught them how to do some nice artwork and handmade home decorations and clutches, bags, accessories, and things like that. And then this was the starting point, and we started to advocate for them and do some marketing. But then we wanted to scale that up. So now we train them. Now they have the skill, the know-how, how to do beautiful, amazing work, but they need a sustainable income. So we
Mm.
scaled up the project to have two routes. One is employability. So we certify them. We teamed up with another very prominent institution in the country to have them certified with the training for employability. And then we went to make deals with other factories where they would be useful. So some of the graduates of the program would go and have immediately after they finish their certification to have jobs. We guaranteed a quota for jobs for the graduates of the program. And other ones, we created a brand for them and we created a platform of e commerce. So she doesn't have to
True.
travel, she doesn't have to be away from her children. She can work at home. She can still manage to post her they don't have marketing techniques, they don't know how to do budgeting, so that was also part of the course, to educate them on how to create a budgeting for the material cost, and then how to create a markup so that you can have a profit and sustain your business. And then we created for them the e-commerce platform where they put their stuff, beautiful products. And then we started to promote these. We promoted these all over. I used to work in a bank at the time, and we used to put that in every customer communication. We would say we support this group, and we put on the advertising for the group and the link to the e-store, and we say that for every because we made donations, and we told our customers, for every transaction you do, there is this amount of money that goes to fund that foundation.
Yes.
And if you want to support us more, you can log on to the e-store and buy some nice stuff and support these women too. So that was one project that we've created for
It's
women, among
awesome.
other projects that we have led also. And we created even the pay. The later stage, we created a digitized solution where they can have their pay through the banking system, because by then we include them into the formal financial economy. And because when they are included in the financial system, they get better privileges. And this is where we educated them that you can have microloans, you can have financial support, and this is where you start. So it was a journey of taking them step by step where they can be their own entrepreneurs later on and have that kind of support.
Wonderful. Thank you. Um, Anybody else? I'm mindful of the time. We have passed the 1 hour thing. Anyone else want to share anything? Because I just want to do a quick wrap up of what we discussed. Yes, Mohammed.
Yeah, I just want to wish all ladies here, first of all, happy International Women's Day and happy Mother's Day as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
it's actually fantastic. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for you guys being the champions for change. So we were talking about disrupting status quo, something to explore and grow. That is what the whole program is about. And about gender biases. We have actually shared some amazing insights today by our awesome panelists. So just to let everyone know, we have Egypt in the house, we have Trinidad and Tobago, we have Colombia, USA, and Mexico in the house. We have representation from Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, Germany in the house. Mohammed, raise your hand. And of course, we have James, who is spread over 80 different countries. So we have his perspective from actually bringing all of that and sharing with us today. So this is going to be the first of these conversations, but I'm going to be inviting people from our amazing wing and from different wings. We've got Pauline, who's been amazingly proactive here. Thank you very much, Pauline Crawford and Tanya Mattox, for actually being over here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we were discussing an interesting topic, which does not end here, but it is the starting point of being different, being unique, and actually standing in your power and your potency to be who you are unapologetically. Whether male or female, young or old. Time is of essence. We can all start now. And I've got my mother who's 92 years old, and she still is my mentor. So, Shireen, yes, your mom, my mom, all our mentors. My mom is actually lying in the intensive care right now. She had a procedure, but I'm going to actually hop off the call and reach out to her again. So, thank you very much for honoring me with your amazing brilliance. Thank you, James, Muhammad, Rebecca, Shireen, and Nicole. And good night, everybody, and thank you for being here. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have
Bye
a great
bye.
evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
You too.
Good
Bye
one.
bye.
Bye.